What's up and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I'm here with my co-host, Dave Martinson. Dave, we were expecting to have a pretty big music week this week and it got a little bit lighter Sunday. I'm wondering, what's your reaction to Yandi not dropping as expected?
Fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, can't get fooled again. Nah, I'm not surprised, man. Come on, we literally said up with the lead. If he drops it, if it's real, yada yada. Sure enough, not a word. And then Kim tweets today, "Oh yeah, Black Friday, whatever."
Yeah, November 23rd. But it's worth the wait, I promise. With like 15 emojis.
Yeah.
Honestly,
probably not even recorded yet. Knowing him.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I saw some people saying today that, with all the backlash, and Kanye went on these pro-Trump rants talking about the 13th Amendment on Twitter, talking about just some ignorant stuff, honestly. Not even so much his political viewpoints, but just like the way he doesn't have any political viewpoints. Basically, his political viewpoint is that he supports Trump because he believes Trump will bring jobs to America, which will then help people who are coming out of institutions be more successful upon reentry into society.
Have you actually ever communicated that? Because all I ever hear is that he's an ideas man, and they all unify together, and it's not like he has any like real rhetoric or policy takes, at least not that I've heard.
Well, I don't think his bid for 2020 is going to go so well. But he might be in Trump's cabinet for all we know. We don't know what's going to happen with the administration or with Kanye. What we do know is Yandi's supposed to drop November 23rd, and we'll be talking about it. Today, though, we're going to be talking about your guy Logic, Lil Wayne's comeback, American Vandal Season 2 wrap-up after we talked about the first episode last week, and then Insecure Season 3. I binged it to get caught up for this finale, and goddamn. What an experience. So I'm excited to talk about it, but why don't we start with Young Sinatra IV?
Oh, yeah.
So, man, your guy Logic last year, I didn't realize this. He had the 5th biggest opening weekend for a rap album in 2017 with his album Everybody.
Yeah, man. Really fucking famous.
Behind Jay-Z, Eminem, Drake, and Kendrick. 4 of the most established artists in the game. 3 of those that are... Well, I guess Drake's not a legacy act quite yet, but he's getting there. And Drake and Kendrick are the 2 biggest acts in hip hop right now.
Logic's been around a while, but he hasn't been that famous as long. But he's 28. It's not like he's super young or anything. Been around.
But he's been around the block. But I didn't realize that he had kind of catapulted to this level of fame. And especially because Everybody, I think we thought was a decent album, but it didn't blow us away. It wasn't something we were like...
there was a lot of cringe on there. We didn't like at all, and all the weird Neil deGrasse Tyson bits and shit. Like, I wasn't a big fan as a fan of Logic for some time. Mm-hmm. We reviewed that, and then we also reviewed Bobby Tarantino 2, his mixtape from earlier this year. I want to... March 9th. And, that was more of his, last year, Everybody was his more conceptual album with also, radio stylings. Obviously, the 1-800 song, was a top 5 hit. Mm-hmm. But then, Bobby Tarantino 2, that was his trap, flavorings. And I think we liked a lot of that. There was some stuff that we weren't too high on just because I think when he's being overly, when it's leaning too far into like mimicry of other people in the game, it's kind of off-putting, I think, when Logic is doing it. Not that he's ever really bad at stuff, but I don't need to hear him do his Travis Scott bit, I'd rather just listen to Travis do that. But, that leads us to Young Sinatra IV, which I was not expecting him to... this is the first time he's released 2 projects in the same year. He usually releases almost 1 year. He's been pretty prolific and consistent with that, but I didn't expect this new mixtape so soon, let alone another Young Sinatra project, because those are the first mixtapes I ever heard from him, and that's really where he first started to blow up. So it was quite the surprise once we realized this was coming out earlier last month.
with your point to some of the cringeworthiness and some of the parts of everybody that people didn't like, I almost wonder if that kind of catapulted this forward for him, or he was more inspired to try to work on another Young Sinatra project, because this is really like a kind of a classical hip hop album in a way. I mean, there's a he obviously is nodding towards a lot of his influences in terms of the sounds on the track. I mean, even some of the samples and the shout outs he gives. He has a whole song with every member of Wu-Tang on it. I mean,
literally every member. It's fucking awesome.
It's insane. So whatever it is that kind of propelled this, I'm glad that he's kind of getting back to his roots. There's a lot to like about this album. I guess I'm wondering, why don't we just start with Wu-Tang? I mean, I know that that's like the centerpiece of this, and why everybody, even if you're not a Logic fan, hip hop fans are talking about it. What did you think of this like 9-minute track with Wu-Tang just crushing it?
Yeah, no, going back a second. You spoke to, this Young Sinatra IV has, obvious boom bap production, old school. This is what Joey Badass came up doing, and this is also what Logic was doing on those first few Young Sinatra tapes, freestyling over Biggie beats and whatnot. And hear him go back to do that, it was really cool, because while the whole tape isn't like this, when you do hear him, going over that 90s, late 80s production, it's just really cool. And it shines no brighter than on Wu-Tang Forever, where he gets literally everyone in the clan, minus the late ODB, of course, but even like Jackpot Scotty Waddy, like one of the Wu-Tang Killer Bees, like an affiliate member, not someone in the full clan. Like, and you hear him talk about this, and he's like, yeah, I just hit up RZA. He's been cool RZA for a minute, and RZA's actually someone that really influenced him from the Kill Bill soundtrack, actually. He actually mentions this on the tape. He's talked about this before.
Yep.
When RZA helped Logic get into rap, and then that's where he found, Nas and A Tribe Called Quest and everyone else. And he just hit up RZA, and RZA's like, yeah, man, it's done. He said to ask. And you listen to a lot of these verses from the clan, and I shouldn't say the clan, it sounds bad, from Wu-Tang. And a lot of them, they're like referencing Logic. A lot of them are like really current verses. These weren't just like verses they had like in the vault ready. Like we reviewed The Saga Continues, the compilation Wu-Tang album from last year, which we liked quite a bit. But that was clearly just an album of verses and songs and song structures they just kind of had, just kind of put it out, right?
Yeah.
But this sounds like, obviously I'm sure some of these verses are a little old, but a lot of them sounded really contemporary. Like one of them, this is The Weeknd, there's a Starboy jab. I thought that was pretty funny. And Weeknd himself even tweeted about it. He's like, oh, he's calling me out. Who knew? So that was cool, like poking beef for no reason. But I really liked it just because Logic has always endeared himself to rappers' favorite rappers, right? Like Lupe, someone we reviewed last week, like drove us wave quite a bit. Lupe has talked about Logic's strength so much. He says Logic's a better, technical rapper than Kendrick, and I think in a lot of ways he might be. But it's just cool seeing that a lot of these OGs really respect Logic's technical ability, when he's actually doing that kind of music and not making, radio songs. And the fact that they all came through with this, and fucking Ghostface just starts it off. It's just really awesome, and the beat's great. And they even give you the Shaolin shadowboxing Wu-Tang sword style. It's just such a classic Wu-Tang song. It's really epic. It's 8 minutes long, and I've listened to it a lot. Which, if anyone who knows me knows I don't like long songs, so I was blown away.
Yeah, I think the most impressive thing about the song, Logic's very smart. He does like a pretty brief verse and just kind of lets them take over. And the way that they sound almost like invigorated. And even though we liked the Wu-Tang, I guess, compilation album, however you want to describe it, they kind of just put these songs together, but it seemed like they were maybe older. This sounds like, man, they still got it. Like, I want to hear them actually put out something new where they're in the shop chopping it up, But yeah, obviously great. A great song. Wu-Tang. It's epic just to have all the members together, like you said. We could probably go on and on about it, but why don't we jump to some of the other songs that we liked on this? Probably my favorite is the next song, 100 Miles and Running. When I was listening to the album, I was kind of listening while doing some work, and I literally like stopped and just was like bobbing along to it, because not only does Logic and Wale, they tear it down on this. But Logic at the end, I mean, he puts Eminem almost to shame with how fast and how technical he is on some of those raps. I was like, damn, he's fucking on fire right now.
And that's what's cool about the song is that if only Eminem knew this,
Right.
this once in a while, people would be more receptive to it.
Mhm.
Because it's still cool and impressive when you rap at that speed and ferocity, right?
Yeah.
But I was like, oh, wow, yeah. My first thought was, sounds like modern Eminem.
Yep.
I'm glad the whole album isn't like this, or mixtape isn't like this. But yeah, no, that was cool. Cool DMV connection too. Wale and Logic joined together.
Well, and it was a shout out to Wale's like third mixtape, which is 100 Miles and Running. That's the name of the song, the mixtape. So, cool shout out there. I also really thought it was cool that he had a last call, and then he was just like, "Yeah, the first time I heard Kanye's last call, I thought that was so fucking cool. So I wanted to have one of my own. So here we go." I was like, "Yeah, like it's a great fucking way to end College Dropout." And I think it fits perfectly with this album, and it's a pretty well told story. I think he does a great job on it. He keeps it compelling. I don't know. I also liked the production on a couple of the earlier songs. I think Everybody Dies is one that stands out, especially with those horns blaring. It's pretty, even though the ending, maybe the verses aren't so compelling, I still think just the production on it is really, really
Starts
good.
really hot too, for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. What stood out to you? What did you like?
I thought Street Dreams 2 was cool. That kind of reminded me of like Under Pressure Logic, his first album, where, really lyrical, really trying to weave and tell a detailed story. And I thought Under Pressure was kind of an up and down album, even though it had a lot of those dense highs like that. And this song kind of reminded me of that. I thought it was pretty good. It's interesting though that there's the Wale nod, the obvious Wu-Tang, more than a nod, the Kanye nod at the end. And then even something minor, he'll call out mumble rappers because he doesn't think they'll last and he thinks he's better than that. Sure, fine. But he also does a song with Jane Smith, or not really a song with him, but he flips Icon, which was an interesting flip. Almost didn't sound like Icon at first, so I started listening. And then he basically does I wouldn't say he was offbeat, but I thought he was just kind of do exactly like Jane's flow and just kind of freestyle over it, but didn't. He just kind of took the beat for himself. Thought that was pretty cool. Things I didn't like was, and one of these songs we had heard for a while, but there's 2 Logic radio hits or radio attempts on here. One Day with Ryan Tedder, and then the song with Haley Steinfeld's Ordinary Day. And I was like, Logic is not a good singer, and when he does that stuff, it's just like, I just can't listen to it. I think this thing is bad. I think the Ryan Tedder song in particular is pretty egregious. They remind me of the Marshmello song from Bobby Tarantino 2 earlier in the year. Just like, it's just bad. I'm not a fan. Earlier in the mixtape, he's like, I do it for the boom bap, the trap, and the radio. And I think that's the order of the quality of his genres. Yeah. Boom bap obviously is his best stuff. The trap is pretty good usually. And the radio, it's usually not good, So that's what
I do gotta say though, Ryan Tedder sounded like Bruno Mars crooning on that shit. Like, even though I don't know if the song is good, I literally had to check. I was like, did he get Bruno to sing on one of these songs? Like, he tricked me for a minute. Yeah, I think the lows are low, but they're not egregious.
Fine.
Yeah. He also talks a lot too. Yeah, he talks a lot of shit on this album. Like, he knows where he stands, and I appreciated the braggadocio on it. So I think we're gonna say YS4, YSIV, Young Sinatra 4 is gonna get a thumbs up from Nowstalgia Pod, and check out whatever song we choose to put on there. I'm thinking, I don't know if Wu-Tang Forever, will that be the one you want to put on there?
Well, we already have Everybody Dies on there, so we'll put something else as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, check out our Spotify playlist.
I'm going to advocate. Yeah. Nowstalgia Best of 2018. The Carter 4 was
Carter 4,
2014? Or, yeah, 2014, right? Carter 4?
No, 2011.
2011. And then the Carter 5 was supposed to come out in 2014.
Yeah, something like that.
And then Birdman.
We first saw this album art back then. This is the original album art he first teased, surprisingly.
Then Birdman and Lil Wayne had their falling out over some contractual issues that no one really can totally understand what happened. Lil Wayne was in creative prison, I think he described it. And then they kind of figured things out, but we still didn't get the Carter 5 for a while. And then all of a sudden, Lil Wayne, 2018, dropping the Carter 5. Dave, how are you feeling just about Lil Wayne dropping an album in 2018? It's been a while since we had heard anything really good from him.
Yeah, I think that's the point. It's not like, even though the Carter 5 had been locked away, whatever, it's not like we hadn't heard Lil Wayne music. We'd heard that Free Weezy album from 2015. We'd heard Dedication 6 last year, then he kind of re-released it at the top of this year, and those projects more or less suck. There's very little to like on those. Even I Am Not a Human Being 2 from 2013, I think is pretty bad. Mm-hmm. Even the Carter 4 was pretty bad. And we just haven't had good Lil Wayne in quite a long time. Mm-hmm. So I really wasn't expecting much, nor didn't think much of the moment, because it's like, why am I supposed to think much has changed? You're telling me the music that he made a few years ago is supposed to radically change my opinion from the music he just released? Like, Lil Wayne was already making bad music a few years ago, so I don't care what the title of the album is. So it wasn't like a big monumentous occasion to me, but I'm clearly in the minority, because this album's going to go number one. It's going to sell a lot of records, and everyone's very excited to listen to it on Friday.
Yeah, and especially for people our age, I mean, when the Carter 3 dropped, it was a monster. It was nominated for Album of the Year. It won the Grammy for Rap Album of the Year. It was top 10 in a lot of sites and magazines, best albums of the year. I mean, it was a monster, and it's undeniable. You go back and you listen through. There's a lot of hits on there. But with the drop off, I mean, Wayne held a very, I don't know, especially that late 2000s into the early teens, he held like a very interesting place, because I don't know if people would have said he's the best rapper alive, or even the most creative, but maybe the most fun, maybe the most.
Plenty of people said he was the best at his peak.
I mean,
because it was during Jay-Z's lull,
right? And Kanye was kind of just doing his weird 808s and right before he dropped My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. So yeah, I guess that would make sense. He probably was considered the best for those couple of years.
That's also when Eminem was away, with his drug problems. So he definitely occupied the top tier for several years.
I'm gonna have to check out what Shea Serrano says was the top rapper for that year. I know he's got all those figured out, but then he fell off. Like, I don't want to say pretty quickly, but it was a pretty slow roll. I mean, he had that. Wasn't he doing those songs with Kevin Rudolph or something like that?
Kevin Rudolph was signing Cash Money. That was why. Yeah, he had those two songs, Kevin Rudolph.
That was terrible. I felt like that was
Shea Serrano in the Rap Yearbook has A Milli 2008, which A Milli was probably the most influential song from Carter 3, and that really kind of pioneered the sound of rap moving forward. And at that time too, I mean, remember Lil Wayne shepherded Drake into the world, which is feels like ancient history at this point, given Drake's in his early 30s. But yeah, I mean, So Far Gone, comeback season era Drake. And that was back when he was just part of the team. Remember, it was Lil Wayne, Drake, Nicki. They're all under Birdman. Heck, they even brought Tyga in when Tyga first started popping. Like, quite the moment, in the pre-modern music consumption age.
And now with the Carter 5, and you said it's going to go number one. It's doing crazy numbers. People are very excited for this album. What did you think? Does this deserve to be a number one album, especially when we talk about such a strong project from Logic?
I mean, Logic's had a few number ones already, so I'm not worried that, and I'm actually more happy that Brockhampton got number one album for the previous week.
Oh, hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man. Over 100,000. Which is nice to see. But yeah, I mean, Lil Wayne, when there's something so hyped for someone who is so popular and used to be so big, it's going to go number one. It's just, again, baked into fans. We saw this with Eminem. Even when Eminem released Revival in December, no one was excited about the album, still went number one. Doesn't really mean much when you're that famous.
Right.
But no, I think I think it's getting overhyped. People kind of living in the moment with it a little too much. But it's his best album. I'd say it's his best album since the Carter 3, his best project since probably Sorry for the Wait, which was one of his mixtapes from I think 2011. And it's listenable and it has good, really good. Of course, it's way too long, but yeah, it's a lot better than almost everything he's released since 2010. So I think that's a pretty good endorsement considering where he was at.
It's actually really funny. I was thinking the other day because we had this Logic album which ran like an hour 15. We had the Carter 5 ran 90 minutes. Lupe was over 90 minutes last week. I was like, man, back in June we were listening to 27-minute albums, 20-minute albums, and we were like, okay, perfect. Like that's good. Give me a taste and get out. And now these guys are dropping 3 times that. But yeah, no, I agree with you. I think there's a little bit too much hype around this. I don't think it's album of the year, any kind of talk like that. It's better than I expected. I'll be honest about that. I didn't really have high expectations for this, but I do think there's a lot of listenable songs, and there's a lot of moments I think where different features, Wayne at points really pop out, and I say, wow, there's really moments that I think you can take away and say that's an awesome music moment for the year. Like Nikki on Dark Side of the Moon singing. I didn't know she had that kind of range. I was taken aback. I had to double check, see who it was.
Should have brought it back more for Queen.
Yeah. I thought Kendrick killed it on Mona Lisa. I mean,
I don't think I actually like that song that much.
No, like it's not a great song, but Kendrick's still
a really impressive verse, and it's like really like weird the way that it's like, it's like a concept song more than anything. But I've listened to it a few times, and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna download this. I'm not actually gonna like it that much, but it's interesting. It's not a phoned-in verse, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. I thought the song with Snoop Dogg was really fun sounding, and Snoop blends into it really well. And yeah, I mean, like Ashanti's on this.
I think she's used really well.
Yeah,
didn't need Mac Main, but Ashanti was good.
So I mean, just kind of looking through, there were moments that I thought. What did you think of Travis's verse?
Yeah, so it's a solid Travis verse, nothing out of the ordinary. But what was cool about it to me was that it definitely sounded like it was a Travis verse from a few years ago. It sounded like it was a Birds in the Trap session, Travis. And similar to the way the cadences Kendrick was bringing out Mona Lisa, definitely feel more To Pimp a Butterfly than say Damn Eric Kendrick. So I thought even if I didn't love those songs per se, I think that's just cool because the nature of this project that it was gestating for so long out of Lil Wayne's control, you get these time capsule verses. even if it's really just those two, I think that immediately jumped out to me. I thought that was pretty cool. I think something I didn't actually expect really from Lil Wayne is, he flips, where is it? He flips Dr. Dre's Explosive on Dope Hitters, and then he flips G-Rap's Special Delivery on Uproar. I thought that was really cool because Lil Wayne hasn't done a whole lot with retro, old school songs in quite some time. So I thought that was interesting. Didn't expect that. And that kind of speaks to, granted, this is Lil Wayne we're talking about here, but he definitely put in effort into this album more than I expected. Like the stuff with his mom. I mean, there's some dark moments on this talking about some of his struggles. Not a lot of this was new information to us, but again, I didn't expect him to actually do that. So I think he gets brownie points for that.
Were there any songs with just Wayne, maybe Uproar, that you found yourself really enjoying?
I think Dedicate's pretty good. But yeah, I mean, I think the album blends together. That's kind of the issue with Wayne these days is the production just sounded, for the most part, pretty modern. So nothing really jumps out like that unless, again, it's weird song structure things like they did on Mona Lisa. So I think it's more like the Carter 4 than people want to admit, but it's a lot better than the Carter 4, So at the end of the day, it's just, it has that, it's like a Louisiana flair, Atlanta trap.
Yeah. Also, shouts to, I might say her name wrong, Regina Carter. which is his oldest daughter, and
Mhm.
I thought she sounded pretty good on the chorus of Famous. So, it's interesting because I think he tried to make this a really personal album,
Mhm.
and brought in a lot of people on this, and like you said, the gestation periods, the newness of some of the songs with some of the time capsule 2014 sections makes this an interesting listen. But overall, I don't think this will go down as one of Lil Wayne's better projects.
Yeah, I think the takeaway should be that Lil Wayne is still capable,
Right.
and maybe we shouldn't write him off just yet. So I'll give him that. He's always been talented on the mic, so I'm not gonna bury him or anything. So again, he exceeded my low expectations.
Can you ever imagine Wayne having like a 444?
I'm just trying to think what would his version of 444 be.
Yeah.
Because if he had one, that'd be something.
I would love to see it.
Yeah, I mean, he's always been really good. The rapid fire punchlines and just unique wordplay that I wouldn't expect anyone else to try and rhyme, but he can pull it off, right? And if he could somehow twist that into like old man sage wisdom and still do those kind of, rhymes, that'd probably be pretty impressive.
I wasn't paying super attention to all the little noises. Did he bring back his lighter flicker?
Oh, of course.
Yeah, I was gonna say it had to be on there.
That's like his ad lib.
Yeah, I love it. I love that will always be Lil Wayne's like sound.
Yeah, I tweeted a GIF of a lighter when I was tweeting about.
Right. Yeah, the cartoon lighter, right?
Yeah.
Follow Dave at Martin Swagger, me at Sheena World Peace in the pod at Nowstalgia Pod. Also, if you're enjoying us, share us with friends. SoundCloud.com/NowstalgiaPod. Stay plugged in. And also subscribe on YouTube. Give us a rating and review on iTunes. We appreciate all the feedback and support. We appreciate you. Let's jump to some TV now. American Vandal Season 2. We talked about the first episode last week of this mockumentary.
Yeah.
Parody. Parody by Tony Yacenda.
Mm-hmm. And Dan Peralt, two guys from Emerson, messed around with music videos and Funny or Die, and then they successfully pitched this, their show to Netflix and got greenlit, and that's how they got now 2 seasons. It's a pretty cool story.
It's a quick watch too. They do a really good job. I mean, the episodes are usually 27 to 30 minutes long, and they do a really good job of leaving these cliffhangers on each episode, so you just kind of want to keep going, which is perfect for Netflix. I think it would even be good in a week by week format, but it's kind of hard to say since we've never really had it that way. Just overall impression of season 2. Did you enjoy it? Where does it fall with you? Better or worse than season 1?
So yes, I enjoyed it. I still think the show is incredibly smart in its satire of social media, online life, teen culture, etc. That being said, I didn't like it quite as much as season 1 because I thought their decision to have like a more darker story this time around unintentionally resulted in less laughs, at least for me. I think part of that was that there was no Dylan Maxwell this year. Dylan Maxwell was just a constant source of humor in season 1, and I think season 2, I liked Kevin McClane and I liked DeMarcus Tillman as probably the 2 leads apart from Kevin and
Sam.
Peter and Sam.
Peter and Sam.
I just didn't think they brought as much humor, So that's kind of where I stand. I still think the show is impressive, and I hope they keep it going because it's such a natural fit for a kind of like anthology adjacent series where they're moving around and doing different things. They didn't really fall into as many of the pitfalls or framing devices they kind of established in season 1. They really tried to twist it around and stuff, and I see the revelations about the various characters at the end. It's definitely different from what happened in season 1. But I think maybe part of it is that Sam and Peter, this wasn't their school, so they didn't have any personal connection to the majority of characters,
right?
That they were interacting with. So I think maybe that was part of it. They just kind of felt like they were, standing next to the story and not being part of the story, almost they were just narrators. So, again, I still think it's good, but it wasn't as funny to me this time.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think it had the funny highs that it usually does. I mean, Dylan in season 1 is just like the perfect character to be following around. He's so ridiculous, so moody, but just so such stupid humor in so many ways. But also it drives it home so perfectly with that final scene where they're at the party watching the documentary. It's just so perfect in how they drive the point home while making it funny all the way up until that point. This, I think, Kevin just is such a weird character, and you can laugh at him, but in a lot of ways it's hard to not also feel like you're kind of not in on the joke. You're kind of watching and just feeling kind of bad for this person, and he's not really relatable in any way. It's not lighthearted. It's tough.
Yeah, because Kevin, what is Kevin's character? He created a persona around himself, to fit in. Basically changed who he was.
The fruit ninja,
right? And then DeMarcus, I guess it's a little more accessible, but it's feeling isolated despite being anything but in real life, and trust, things like that. So I think they're both well framed, well constructed characters, and I do think they were acted well, but they don't lend themselves to laughs as much.
No, definitely not. I think one thing I did like about this season is that I think they make it pretty inclusive without having to draw attention to it. And I talked about BoJack last week about how they really touch on different issues going on in society nowadays. I mean, one of the characters at the center of figuring out the mystery of this was a lesbian, and it wasn't even talked about in any way other than oh yeah, she has a girlfriend. It wasn't made a big deal. It wasn't drawn attention to, which I think is such a great step for just TV shows in general. And I think it speaks more to the generation that we're in, that for a lot of kids in high school, that's just normal now. It's not a big deal like it would have been. I think even when we were in high school, that might have been a big deal. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was really cool representation. Just kind of wondering, where do you want them to go from here? Because like you said, it wasn't as funny as the first season. And I think that makes season 3 kind of a crucial season for them to make sure that they keep it funny, but that they also keep it fresh.
Yeah, and I don't think you can ditch Peter and Sam.
No. Well, you've already established that they're going to be taking all these cases from all around.
Right, and they've gone so meta with the in-world story for them. American Vandal, the movie or series, whatever it was, right, on Vimeo, and I guess they're your most recognizable leads because they're in both seasons. So you said to find a way to bring them. I mean, can you bring them back to their hometown? I guess you can see getting more meta. There's obviously more things to poke fun at in terms of online life and teen culture. There's a wealth of that to do. Just got to find a way to frame the story in a sense that they can still have a deeper meaning. Because they're not just, it's not just throwaway humor. It's smart humor and well-told stories, but it's also freaking hilarious because they take it so seriously and all that, right? So you got to find a way to get back to why season 1 was funny, but still be as smart as both seasons.
I had 2 ideas. I'd either like to see them go to college and see how them going to a college, being pulled into party life and things like that, or while trying to solve this mystery kind of impact things. I also like the idea of them getting contracted to do figure out the mystery of some normal workplace environment, almost kind of like The Office in a way, but they're going after people. I would like to see them do something like that, just because I feel like that would keep it fresh, and they could go in so many different directions with those. But I was just wondering if you had any ideas or anything you would like to see.
Nah, college is a good point now that you say that. Yeah. Well, one of the funniest throwaway lines was in the very first episode when they were catching up on what happened to Peter and Sam. And it was yeah, someone called us about a real murder, and we called the cops, obviously.
Yeah. Last question: did you see the twist coming at the end?
Nope. Yeah. I never really looked that far ahead and try and figure it out, but I didn't see it coming. Nope.
I was definitely trying to figure it out as they went, but I knew it wasn't going to be one that they were actually looking at. That's the only thing is.
Yeah. I was like, it can't be DeMarcus. We spent way too much time with him, you know?
Mhm. Also, probably my favorite gag of the whole thing was Hot Janitor. I just, for some reason, that was really funny. And then when they met him, he's just this major stoner. I was like, this is perfect. Like, such a good little thing to throw in there for like 10 minutes. But yeah, American Vandal, check it out on Netflix. Let's jump to Insecure to finish out the day. Season 3, your girl Issa Rae. I mean, Dave, why don't you give us a little rundown of the first 2 seasons of Insecure?
Well, yeah, Issa Rae, she got this show off of her, I think it was a YouTube series, Awkward Black Girl, I think it was called.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, Larry Milmore helped her get the show at HBO. And it's about her playing, you know, fictional character Issa D. And it's in, you know, South LA, Inglewood, modern times. And it's really just a show about, I guess, the lives of, you know, late 20s black women, right?
Mm-hmm.
Romantic and lives and friendships they have. And first season is really about her kind of struggling with her relationship with her boyfriend of several years, Lawrence, played by Jay Ellis, who will be in Top Gun 2. Hype for that.
Yeah, hell yeah.
And then season 2, you know, she's separated from Lawrence and she's trying to find herself and grow and make new connections while Lawrence is also trying to move on.
Mm-hmm.
And then season 3 starts off and Lawrence is not in the show for, I think, the first 5 episodes.
Yep.
Then he comes back at the end, and I thought he was only going to come back for a cameo. I did not expect them to bring him back into the fold as back as part of the, you know, ensemble co-lead or whatever, you know. I didn't see that part coming, but she's a lot and a lot hasn't happened for Issa and Molly and everyone through 3 seasons. But we're in an interesting place now that Lawrence is back in the fold.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, in a way, it reminds me of a show like Seinfeld or a show like Curb, where like it's more about like the stories and the little adventures that they go on. And sure. I mean, like the relationships drive the plot, but the plot is only so important. It's more about the characters themselves. And I think the show does a really good job of fleshing out modern 25 to 35 year olds.
Yep.
Especially black 25 to 35 year olds in a really like realistic way. Almost, I think, realistic to a fault at times. Like, I just want to see them figure their shit out instead of try something new, be successful for an episode, then fall back into their same patterns. Like, I know that that's going to happen, and it's more realistic than anything. But at the same time, I find that the most aggravating part is I just want to see Issa figure it out, be successful.
Right. I think that's people have been bringing that up. Whether it's a critique of the show itself is a different thing, but I know a lot of people are getting tired of seeing Molly and Issa, and I guess Lawrence now too, make the same mistakes over and over again and not seemingly learning from what has happened in past seasons that we've seen that this happen. And you'd think they'd have, you know, they learned something. It seems that they established that, and it doesn't go there. And it's interesting because it's a show about romance. You know, I think the promise of the beginning of season 3, and I like season 3 quite a bit, promise of the season though, without Lawrence at all, was that it was an opportunity for Issa's character to grow beyond just who she's dating or who she was dating or who she wants to date. You know, I mean, there's more to Issa D than her romantic life, and not that can't be in the show, but just felt like it was driving the plot constantly.
Yeah.
And I'm just worried that the show in season 4 will lead back to her getting back with Lawrence as they both finally grow and mature. You know, I think not that I wanted to see Lawrence back so much, but the arc that they gave him a little bit at the end of season 3, you know, he was single, handsome dude, slaying, right? Just being a single dude. And it seems like he's finally growing beyond that, right? You know, he started going to church, which I thought was a pretty funny scene. Now he's dating, you know, someone who actually seemed like seriously dating someone, right? Who's like a more accomplished person than just a, you know, woman he'd like to smash. So that's interesting to see if he'll keep going down that path. But Issa, on the other hand, this seems to keep. I mean, stuff with Daniel really bogged her down for a while. Now the stuff with Nathan, it's just
Right.
And she starts out she's doesn't have a lot of money working at the nonprofit, leaves. Now she's trying to do more of that stuff. So it's like not a lot of Issa's status has changed. It's not that her character isn't growing, but it just seems like she keeps falling back in the same patterns. I guess it's just frustrating to watch at times.
Yeah, no, and even like a character like Molly, who you actually do see have some character growth and development, especially into this season, as she's, they use therapy as a conduit to almost bring that character growth more to the foreground for her and kind of highlight the things she's actually working on. Yeah. But then you see her fall back into these frustrating patterns, especially with men, and you're just like, God damn it. Like, just stop fucking this dude who's married. Like, just stop with Dro. I don't want to see, fucking Dro, man. Like,
yeah, it just seems like Molly, I think Yvonne Orji is the clear breakout of the show in general. I think she's a magnetic performer.
I'm going to argue with you on that, but I'll let you finish.
Well, there's another, I also like Natasha Rothwell quite a bit, but she's not in the show enough, unfortunately. Right. But yeah, I think Molly's really great. Yvonne Orji's really great. But yeah, like, she just doesn't follow this basic ass advice. She keeps having the same men problem she's had since season 1. With the fact that she's a really successful, put together woman everywhere else, right?
Right.
It's just frustrating to see her character can't grow beyond that.
Yeah.
But in terms of the structure, I think Natasha Rothwell is fucking hilarious,
dude.
And I actually think she actually co-wrote the finale. I think she's more involved beyond the scenes, which is cool because she's clearly really talented.
Yeah.
So I think, I mean, like, Issa's and Molly's friends, we know them, they're recurring cast members, but we still don't really know them or how they react to life. They don't feel like fully formed characters in terms of the relationships they're supposed to have with Issa and Molly, right?
Yeah.
So I'd love to see a lot more of that in season 4.
Well, you did get to see some of that, like the episode with the baby shower and seeing the way that Natasha Rothwell's character kind of responds when she feels like she's being replaced by a baby. I thought it was great. Honestly, though, the episode that stole the season for me was the Coachella episode.
Oh,
it was so ridiculous,
so great,
so funny.
And I didn't expect Nathan's friends to be like recurring characters. Like, what's the Asian dude's name with the long hair?
I don't know.
Asian Bay. Everyone, if you go on #InsecureHBO, great Twitter show, by the way. And everyone's like, this fine ass is the one Molly left. All right, I'll get in line, So everyone was saying that. And yeah, I think that's also like surface level. This show is a great hang just because, again, 30 minutes, like Vandal, short episodes, consistently funny, and also the whole cast is beautiful.
Oh,
and it's in LA, so it's a great show to just look at the whole time, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Quick, Natasha Rothwell also in probably one of my favorite movies of the year, Love, Simon, as the teacher who keeps coming in and the drama teacher. She's fucking hysterical in that too. So
awesome.
Yeah, she's definitely having a great year. I think the thing I really, really like about this show is that no matter how frustrating it gets, how many patterns these people fall back into, I still find myself rooting for them. And it does a really good job of fleshing all these characters out and showing the things that they really don't do well, and also letting you see sides of them that you really like. And it makes you almost feel like you really know these characters, which I think is hard for a 30-minute show to do, but they do it really, really well. Even someone like Daniel, who I know you're saying she was bogged down with him.
I like Daniel.
Yeah, I like Daniel a lot. And like seeing that episode where he's in the club and he's feeling like kind of shy, feeling his career is not going the way he wants to. Seeing him with with that Nordic shit, wanting those jazz flutes, being all jazzy and shit. Like,
yeah, man, that's what they do. They're
like, I thought that was great. And for a character who, I don't know, Issa has a lot of issues with, and their dynamic is baffling and
something.
It's something. I think that's probably the most admirable part of the show. So I highly recommend it. I'm glad that you told me to catch up on it because it's definitely I don't know if it's one of my favorite shows of the year, but it's a really rewarding show to be following with.
Yeah, for sure.
So what do we got on the docket for next week, Dave?
Yeah, next week. Jesus Christ, we have so many fucking movies coming out. Star is Born, which I'll be seeing on Wednesday. Shout out Boston, having those early screenings.
Oh, yeah.
Venom.
Venom.
We'll see how Tom Hardy sounds. At the very least. Old Man the Gun is expanding. We're really hoping to talk about that this week. It was only in New York City and LA, and we were unable to see it yet. Apparently the final Robert Redford film, and the reviews are not surprisingly fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Casey Affleck, Danny Glover, great cast. John David Washington from Black Klansman has a small role, so I'm really excited to see that. So I don't know if we'll get to all three of those movies. We'll definitely get to Star is Born and Venom. Hopefully we can talk about Old Man the Gun as well. If not, I'll talk about the week after. And then music. Let's see. This is 10-5, right? Fuck. 21 Pilots.
Yeah.
Trench is coming out. So we'll be talking about that. That album sure to be number one the following week. Should be big. They've had like 4 singles come out. I think I liked 1 or 2 of them. So looking forward to seeing those guys, see what they sound like after massive fame and big world tour. You know, I'm just interested to see what they have to say now. You know,
yeah, then definitely.
TV, the Better Call Saul finale comes out Monday, so we won't be talking about that till the following pod. But catch up on Saul, fantastic. And then a show we won't be watching that comes out Friday, Man in the High Castle season 3. Just to show that I think I speak for both of us, where we love the concept, the idea, even the production values, but just did not have interesting characters or storylines. Unfortunately, it's just a lot of wasted potential for Amazon.
Yeah, definitely a disappointing show. The first season was okay. The second season I couldn't really get into. Yeah, but I mean, a lot to talk about. The movies in particular are going to be great. Also, I think I'm trying to see here if I can look it up. I think either Mount Kimby or Mount Erie. Yeah, it's Mount Kimby dropped an album, and we talked about their album from last year. I really liked it. That one. So sure. I might circle back, listen to that, and we'll hopefully be getting to little known albums in the future. But yeah, movie season's upon us, dude. This is when the Oscar movies are going to be dominating.
Yeah, because the week we'll be talking about Better Call Saul, because we'll just be missing the finale. We'll also be talking about First Man that comes out the following week. So it's going to come quick.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy. So stay tuned to Nowstalgia Pod at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, SoundCloud.com/Nowstalgia Pod on SoundCloud, and give us a subscribe on YouTube and subscribe on iTunes as well with a rating and review. We appreciate you, and we'll catch you next week. Peace out.